Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Danielle Binns. I am really excited to be here to share my wisdom with you as far as, when we think about stress, because the research shows that many of us, especially the working population, especially parents, everyone is feeling stress in some capacity. So, for the next hour and a half-ish, I am going to give you some tools that you can use in your everyday life. So let me share my screen. Now, this is going to be a pretty speedy conversation. I have lots to cover and I want you to get the most out of it. So try to be in a space where you are um, not going to be interrupted, where you have some time to reflect because we do have some quote unquote work to do. Because really, a lot of times, we attend workshops and do trainings and read the books, but then we never put it into practice. And today, my goal is for you to do that. Okay, so welcome to the Resilience Reset and Stress Less workshop. I am Danielle Binns. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a certified nutritionist and a workplace wellness expert. I haven't always been in the wellness space though, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. Now, over the past decade, I have helped over thousands of families um, overcome the stress around feeding their families and their kids, particularly when we think about picky eating. So I've had the pleasure of supporting many parents in overcoming eating and mealtime and food and nutrition issues. I also have the pleasure of supporting thousands of employees and companies across North America and even over the lake, over the pond, as they say, into other parts of the world with wellness workshops, health challenges, supporting every industry from banks to breweries to startups and multinational companies. So it's my mission to arm people, whether you are a parent, whether you are an employee or a leader, with actionable, practical, science-based tools to help you go from surviving to thriving. Okay, so we're going to start with a little experiment. I would like you to share, or I want you to pretend, okay, that you are staring at a white wall. Okay, we're all staring at a white wall. Now, imagine you had one of two choices. You could put the blue glasses on or the red glasses. Okay, so you go ahead and pick which glasses do you want to put on right now. Go ahead, pick them up, put them on. Now, for those of you wearing the blue glasses and you're staring at this white wall, what do you see? Yes, you see blue, right? You see a blue wall. For those who are wearing red glasses, yep, you see red. So even though the wall itself has not changed, your perception has. What you see depends on the lens in which you're looking through. And guys, stress is not much different. It works the same way. We experience something. So, a moment, let's say it's walking into your boss's office, seeing your kids fight, seeing your child throw their food on the floor, dealing with a deadline. Okay. For you, it might be stressful, but for somebody else, it's just another moment, and vice versa. The difference, it's not the situation itself, it's not your boss's office or your kids fighting that is stressful. There's no meaning in that until we look at it through a lens that gives it meaning. Okay, so today I'm going to give you some practical tools and insights to shift your perspective so you can wear the resilience lens more often and see stress in a positive way. So next I want you to tell me, where are you on the stress cycle? Okay, so or should not just say not stress cycle, but where are you on the stress spectrum? Are you a one where you feel like on the average day you feel relaxed and calm, like you're floating, or are you more of a five where you feel chronically anxious or stressed out? Okay, yes, you are not alone. This is just Canadian data. I have US data as well, but all in all, about 50% of Canadian workers report feeling stressed. And the research also shows that parents are the most stressed out demographic, okay? The most unhappy demographic. So next, I want you to consider, what is your biggest source of stress? Yeah, I see financial pressures. I see caring for aging parents, navigating parenting challenges, toddlers, teenagers, right? There, stress is coming from all angles, including just being stuck in traffic or financial pressures in terms of what's happening in the economy, in politics, and all of that, right? Global warming. There's always something to be worrying about. Well, I've experienced my fair share of stress because I am, well, first, I'm a mother of three daughters, and life is busy with after school programs, kids in rep sports, and just navigating parenting challenges. I also run a business and supporting both families and companies where I'm speaking in a public setting in front of many, many people. And I've been doing this for the past 10 years. So that is stressful, whether I'm working to hit aggressive deadlines, getting on stage. Stress is part of work. Next, even when I'm on when I'm live on the news or in front of the mic at CBC Radio, talking about the latest health research, that can be stressful too. But I do know this. Stress is inevitable and it's a part of life, and often it blindsides us, right? I particularly learned a lot about resilience in the last year, and I just want to share a little story with you. So, exactly 1 year ago, my eldest daughter, who was 10 at the time, she got sick. We had just been packing for a family vacation to Italy with their grandparents, who are my parents, and we'd never been together. So it was a big trip. We were going away for a month with my brother, and it's about 12 of us. But when the emergency doctor came into the room and told us to cancel our trip, I knew this wasn't just the flu and it was more serious. So my daughter had a bacterial blood infection. And, one moment we were in the emerge thinking she just had a small bug. The next day she was septic and was having open heart surgery. So we spent a month in the ICU and even celebrated her 11th birthday right there. Um, yeah, in the ICU. I was in survival mode. And here's the interesting thing, even though I'm a nutritionist and a wellness expert, I couldn't eat, sleep, exercise, or function. But I knew I had to be strong for her. I knew I had to smile. Like I had to be there and with a smile when crap was hitting the fan. And there were medical issues every other day. Every day we were getting blindsided by another concern, thinking the bacteria hit her bones, that it had gone to her brain. I mean, it was perpetual stress. But I had to be able to think clearly and be able to communicate with the doctors and surgeons, make sure we were making the right decisions for her. I had to be present with my other two daughters, who I only saw a handful of times in a month. So managing my stress at this time and even for the months afterwards were critical. Okay. Were critical for her mental well-being, for my family's well-being, and for my own. But even as as a nutritionist, I knew I tell people all the time what to do, what to eat, how much to sleep, what to drink, all that. When you're in survival mode, you can't do any of it. There is no motivation. And I mean, I'm someone who works out daily, who eats healthy 80% of the time. I have my health dialed in, but in this situation, I couldn't do any of it. So I know what it's like to be in survival mode, and I'm going to show you how to get out of it. So there was one day, in particular, I'll never forget. It was the most traumatic experience while we were in the ICU. And while we were all pushed into the hallway while teams rushed in to help our daughter, I was beside myself. And then my husband read me this quote. It says, "We will stagger under the weight of all this. We will struggle and break. But all we can do, the Stoics tell us, as Hemingway wrote, is to be strong in the broken places, to focus on how we respond, what we do about it, and to who we can become for having gone through it." You guys, when I heard this quote, my entire energy shifted. There was some really bad stuff happening in the ICU, but for some reason I had this calm and sense of peace wash over me simply because this quote shifted my perspective. It made me look at the situation differently. And I was like, we are going to get through this. I can't control what's happening there, but I can control how I respond. So On that note, after four major surgeries, countless procedures, she was finally discharged and recovered for the next few months at home. And at that point, I was like, we have to celebrate my daughter's bravery. We had to do something to shift the negative and turn it into a positive. So I hosted a community fundraiser last summer, which was supposed to be small, but it brought out over 300 people in the rain. And we raised over $21,000 for sick kids. I'm also now a patient or a parent and family advisory for the hospital. My daughter is an ambassador for sick kids. And I now realize that this is exactly what we needed to do to release the pent up stress and trauma. So Sienna is now 12 and she is thriving. So I'm happy to report that we have come a long way. We managed to turn a terrible experience into a rather positive one. And I share this story because we're talking about stress today, and it did teach me a few things. First, even if we don't think we can do hard things. Okay? We all experience stress, and I'm going to get you to do an exercise soon that is going to remind you that you can do hard things even when it feels unbearable and like you can't. The body does not want to hold on to stress. We have to find ways to release it. Otherwise, it causes trauma in the body. So we know that the part of the body or the brain that experiences and feels stress is next to the part of the brain that controls our motor neurons. So the parts of our body, other parts of our body. So when the two are connected, that's why we often start to see autoimmune conditions or other issues, health issues surface after stressful periods over time. We're not just talking about being stuck in traffic for a day. We're talking about chronic stress day after day, year after year. The most important thing is how we respond to it. And it takes a village. We can't do it alone. I mean, when we were in the hospital, we had people visiting, checking in on us, supporting us, taking our kids to their programs, picking them up and dropping them off at school, sending us food so we didn't have to think about what to feed ourselves. And, when you ask for, in this situation, we didn't have to ask for help because it was very clear we needed it. But many people don't ask. But here's the thing about human nature, people feel good when they can help. So if you need help, don't hesitate asking because it does take a village. And again, stress can turn out positive outcomes. We can turn stress and turn stress from a negative situation to, and learn from it and create a positive. So I wanted to thank you for letting me share that story with you. It used to be very triggering for me, but now it motivates me to be able to want to help more people navigate stress. And I wanted to say that my stress is no worse than yours. Just because I had a sick child, it doesn't mean your stress with work is not worthy. It's all relative, and stress is stress in the body. Okay. So it's part of a daily or your daily life, and your brain is constantly looking for potential threats, whether it's monsters under the bed or a person we can't trust. So, according to the National Science Foundation, an average person has 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. My goodness, I can't get the words out. I want you to guess of these thoughts, thousands of thoughts that we have, what percent you think are negative? Yeah, people come pretty close. The last session I did, people were guessing 30 or 40%. No, it's actually 80%. And even more shockingly, here's the kicker. You ready for it? Not just are 80% of your thoughts that are going through your brain on a daily basis negative, 95% of them are repetitive. So you can understand why we are stressed, right? Because if we are having negative thoughts time after time, those thoughts turn into our words and how we describe ourselves. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this project. Okay, I'm going to say that I'm not great at this. I'm not confident. I stink at this. That becomes your actions. You don't work as hard. You don't think you can do it. So maybe you don't open your mind to different possibilities on how to handle that project, or you think you're not a good parent and you say that about yourself. Then you act in a way that reinforces that belief. And when you do that action enough times, it becomes a habit, and that builds your personality and your character and your reality. So our thoughts influence how we show up with your kids, with your partner, and in your work. I love this quote. This quote says it all from Gandhi. A man is but the product of his thoughts, what he thinks he becomes. Okay. As with most of us, those thoughts become negative, or thoughts being negative, it makes sense why we feel overwhelmed and so negative. We have so much negativity and cynicism when we're just ruminating all these negative beliefs. So this is what we're reviewing. I'm going to skip through it because I've shared it a lot in the emails. Actually, you know what? Just in case anybody did not see it, let's just look through this. So we're going to talk about the signs of stress. Let's get into the nitty gritty a little bit. I'm going to share a secret about stress that everybody needs to know. Okay. This is super important if you want to be able to come into every day and feel positive and like you can handle your stress. I'm going to give you the Empower methods. That's 6 ways to better manage your stress. Nutrients for resilience. So, what are some foods and specific micronutrients that your body needs? And one thing that's not here that I've thrown in for any parents in the room or watching the recording, the 4S system I use for calming my kids down. I have a daughter who tends to be pretty explosive in terms of like very happy and also gets very sad very fast. And she's gotten a lot better, but this is something I used to use with her when she was younger and every once in a while, even now. And now they try to use it on me when I get upset with them. Okay, so what happens when you're stressed? Let's take a look. Stress is the body responds in a protective way. So when our ancestors back in the day confronted danger or a saber-toothed tiger, it triggered the release of hormones that prepared their body to either stay and deal with the threat, so fight the tiger, right? Try to kill the tiger, which that wouldn't go very well. Try to run away to safety, so that is flight, or some would just freeze. That's all the body could do. So most of the challenges though faced in this Paleolithic era, they were short term, right? Short lived. They were just dealing with a predator, dealing with a short term food shortage. It wasn't this perpetual stress that we experience on a daily basis, trying to work with like heavy workloads, managing kids, dealing with aging parents or other family challenges. Stress is coming from many, many angles and it's chronic. So here's what happens when we are in the stress state. So again, we can stay in fight or we can flight. So your pupils dilate to make sure you take in your surroundings. Your sensory system is enhanced because it needs to be aware of what is around you. Your heartbeat and your respiration rate increase because they need to get the blood flow and energy and oxygen to your brain and your lungs. So all these things are happening physiologically when you are faced by when you think you're being faced by a tiger, facing a tiger. However, even if you've just had a bad meeting with your boss or you have to tell your boss some bad news, or you see your child saying they don't want to go to school and they're sitting there not wanting to put their shoes on and you're late, like those your body does the same things. It can't distinguish between it's a tiger, it's just my kid not wanting to tie their shoelace, right? So, over time, that stress also wreaks havoc on your brain. So, as the cortisol levels rise, there's electric signals that deteriorate your hippocampus, which is right here, this little guy here. And your hippocampus is the learning and memory center of your brain. Okay. And it's for stress control too. But too much cortisol can also reduce the size of your prefrontal cortex. This guy here and your amygdala, which is your reptile brain, the part of your brain that says run, fight, or flight, fight, flight, or freeze. That is your fight or flight center. Your prefrontal cortex is kind of like the grown up that tells the amygdala, no, don't go fight that person, right? Don't punch them just because you didn't like the feedback they gave you, or don't run away when your kids are fighting, right? Your prefrontal cortex is the rational one. It regulates concentration, social interaction, decision making, judgment. But too much stress reduces the size of this part of your brain here. So stress, not so good on a chronic level for your brain. Also, in terms of just performance, being productive, how can you be clear or have clarity? How can you focus or be creative in solving a problem when you're in survival mode. You can't. Your body is just trying to survive. It's not trying to be effective. So it impacts how you show up at work and home. Now, I probably spiked your cortisol, merely sharing all the downsides of stress. So I'm going to now surprise you and say stress has a lot of positive aspects too. That's right. Stress can be great and be beneficial because I want you to think about stress on a spectrum. If you're down here, I don't think it should be colored green because that seems like a good thing. If you're down here, you are not doing anything. Okay. There's no stress. You don't want to get off the couch. You're just going to sit there with a bag of chips or not get out of bed. Over here, you are breaking down, you are burning out, your stress level is beyond, and now you can't even function. So we kind of want to be in this area, but not too much that we start to um, get into exhaustion, right? So there's a sweet spot with stress. So stress gives us the ability to perform and the energy to perform. I mean, I couldn't have done my half marathon in Montreal if I didn't have some stress getting me on getting me out the door and training. It gives me the motivation to get up on stage and do my best. And at a foundational level, it actually protects us, just like a lifeguard flag on the beach, right? That warns us when the water's too rough. The stress stops us in our tracks and make sure that we are not subjecting us to that harm, right? So I don't know about you, but I would not want to be stress-free at all times because that's when we endanger ourselves. In fact, I told you stress is can be bad for the brain, but guess what? There's some research that also says it can be good for the brain. Now, while I don't advocate for animal testing, there was a study at Berkeley University or UC Berkeley that says that where they exposed rats to short-term stress, and they found that it had positive effects on their brain function. For one, that brief amount of stress resulted in new neuron growth in the hippocampus. Remember, that's your memory and learning center of your brain. So the hippocampus was developing new neurons and growing, whereas, and then 2 weeks later, once those neurons had matured, the rats showed improved cognitive performance in learning. So this is again a bout of stress, not chronic stress. Speaking of the positive sides of stress, there was a fabulous study done by a scientist by the name of Alia Crum, and she conducted something called the stress mindset study. What she proved is that we can alter the way we feel a situation by altering how we think about it. Okay. So what they did was they showed a group of people a series of videos. Some saw videos that told them that stress was positive, stress was enhancing. The other group saw videos where it showed them why stress is debilitating and ruining their life. What happened was those in group A, the enhancing group, they saw an improved mental health and well-being, improved work performance after watching the videos, whereas those in the debilitating group saw no improvements at all. Okay, so this just proves that our beliefs about stress, they really matter. What you believe stress does for you makes a difference physiologically. So if you think stress is positive, it helps me perform, it strengthens my brain, it helps me with my memory, it will teach me something, then you're going to have the words, action, habits to follow that will then create this personality, this resilient personality, and it shifts our mindset. Okay, so a bit of reflection time. So what I want you to do here is I want you to think about a time when you were stressed. Okay, when you thought to yourself, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this? I have way too much on my plate. I can't handle this right now. I don't know how to deal with this. Okay, so think of that time. Did you get through it? Well, you are here watching this video, this workshop. Yes, you got through it, right? Think about, did anything positive come out of that stressful situation? Just take a moment. I mean, even the most hellish, horrible, stressful moments, if you really look deep, there can be something positive that is uncovered through that. So even in my daughter's situation, spending a month in the ICU, I would never wish upon anyone, but it has shifted my mindset and how I view my life. It has shifted how I parent. It has brought me closer to new friends that really showed up for me. I have really strong friendships out of that, and my great friends even got better. I mean, people could be vulnerable with me. The connections have grown. My partner and I feel stronger. So there's been a ton of positive. I mean, sick kids, we raised $21,000 and I'm now supporting sick kids. So much positive. As I'm talking about this, I'm realizing more and more. So just take a moment. You can pause this video and do some reflection and go ahead and journal, because the process of writing it down is shown through science to be beneficial as a way to process and assimilate what we're talking about. Okay, so go ahead and press pause to work through this reflection. Now, it's important to understand the impact of chronic stress, okay? How much you're getting versus and how much you're dealing with it and how you're dealing with it. So we're going to use the bathtub as an analogy, right? So I want to picture that every time you feel stressed, you've got the tap turns on, water starts filling up the tub. Okay, it's finances, it's a health issue, it's aging parents, it's dealing with your kids, a work deadline. That every time you experience stress, turn on the tap. Eventually, your bathtub fills up with all these emotions from the stressor, even when the stressor is gone. So you don't have that stressor anymore. The bathtub is still full. But what happens if you continue to introduce a new stressor? Eventually, too much chronic stress, your bathtub overflows. Okay. That's burnout. Now, burnout is a bit of a buzzword, so I want to give you some clarity on what that looks like when someone's bathtub is overflowing. So here you can see the difference between stress and burnout. So go ahead and you can even screenshot this as a reminder. Overall, like one example is that with stress, you are overengaged. You're like, oh my gosh, I got to work harder, got to work longer through to midnight. I've got to do more. With burnout, you are completely removed. You just do not want to do anything. So stress results in kind of you feel more tired from stress, whereas burnout is a loss of complete motivation. You don't even want to get out of bed. Okay. So again, stress is a physical toll, where burnout is an emotional toll, and it starts to impact your mental health. What many don't realize is that stress is a cycle, just like breathing and circulation and digestion. If any of these cycles is interrupted, if your blood stops flowing, if you stop breathing, if your digestion is hampered, bad things happen, right? Well, similarly, if the stress cycle is interrupted, there's also problems that occur. That is why stress, the word stress, the thought of stress is not the enemy. When anyone hears the word stress, they think negative. No one's like, "Oh, stress, that's a good word," right? It's getting stuck or the cycle not working, where that is the problem. That's the enemy. So we need to get out of the cycle. So again, let's come back to the bathtub. Okay. So now the stressor is gone. You no longer have the financial issues. You're making loads of money. Your health issues are resolved. Your loved one's doing better and so on. But that bathtub is still full. So what is the quickest and easiest way, or what is the smartest way to lower the water levels? Yeah, we want to unplug the bathtub. We need to release that stress. We need to release that water so it does not overflow. There are 7 ways in the book, The Burnout by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. They're 2 sisters. They talk about 7 ways to complete the stress cycle so it's not interrupted, right? So here's a couple of them here. We're going to go deep into some of these. And I just want to call out, you see crying here? I mean, I remember as a kid being told, don't cry, stop crying. No, no, no. Crying is actually a good thing. These are all things that help you tell your body that everything's okay. You don't have to be stressed anymore. You can unplug that bathtub. And when you cry, it's like a release of, you're recognizing your emotion and you're releasing it, talking to people, breathing, moving. So we'll get into this a little bit more. So I want to now give you some strategies to release the stress and complete the stress cycle. I call this the empowering method. They all conveniently start with M, hence M power. Clever, right? Because I like to keep things simple for you. Okay, so feel free to guess what some of these M's are. Yep, I typically see meditate, I see mindfulness, I see movement. Someone said munchies. All right, so let's see what they are. First, think about what's the first thing you did this morning? Okay, did you check your phone for social media or emails? Did you go for a walk or run? Did you walk the dog? Did you make a coffee? Because what you do in the morning is incredibly important. In fact, this quote by Robin Sharma says it all. He says, we need to own your morning, okay? Because that split second when you wake up, it counts. Right then and there, you're setting the tone for your day and how you want it to be, okay? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to pretend you've just woken up. The alarm went off. You're going to grab your gratitude journal or just a piece of paper, and you are going to write down 3 things you're grateful for. Because remember, most of your thoughts, 80%, are negative. How do we get out of this rumination of negative thoughts that then set us down this pattern of thought, words, action, habit? We need to inject some positive in there. Now, there's a difference between just writing down, I'm grateful for my kids, I'm grateful for my job and my house. That's good. To make it great, what we need to do is really feel into them. Okay? When you write down, I'm grateful for my kids or my child, what would life be like without them? You say, I'm grateful for my pet. What would life be like without it? You're grateful for your house. What would it be like not to have that house or a house? So really feel what that's like. That is gratitude. The next part is my favorite, taking gratitude to the next step. In the morning, answer this question. Today would be great if. It would be a good day if this happened. Now, what you write in that spot there, it has to be something you can control. Okay? It can't be if the sun is shining, if my boss says this to me, if I get a raise. No, it has to be something you can control. It might be calling that friend that you haven't spoken to a while. It might be responding calmly to your child um, when they set you off. It might be giving your partner a hug. It might be starting that project you've been meaning to do. Okay. Because that then takes everything in your brain, all that whole to-do list that you have, and it just narrows it into something that really matters to you and something that's going to make the day great. So go ahead and do that exercise. In fact, I have a little something for you that I will send. If you don't have a gratitude journal, I will send you a couple worksheets that you can then print out as many as you like, and you can do this exercise on your own. So what you can do here is just press pause and go ahead and do this exercise, because the key here for you putting this stuff into practice is doing the practice now. Okay, BJ Fogg is an author, and he says, let's say you don't have time to do gratitude journal in the mornings, it's too hectic. What I want you to do, or what he says to do, is when he wakes up and his feet hit the floor, he says this, it's going to be a great day, or today's going to be a great day. That small statement shifts your brain into thinking about what actions do I need to take to make today great. It sets the tone for your morning. It sets a tone for your day. Okay. So write that down and remind yourself tomorrow morning when you get up, put a sticky note first, like on your wall in your bedroom, so you can say that to yourself, because we'll forget. Okay. So that's your morning routine. Gratitude, perception, shifting that mindset into greatness is the first thing we're going to do. The next thing I want you to try, whether it's with someone at work, when you're on the street, when you're in line at the grocery store, when you're talking to your kids, your partner, I just want you to smile. So let's say they're talking to you. I want you to smile. Okay. Maybe you're on the streetcar, subway, smile at the person across from you. It's going to feel weird. I mean, when I see people smiling walking down the street, I'm like, what is wrong with that person? Right? It feels weird. what you're probably going to see is they are going to smile right back at you. And there's science behind this. It's called mirror neurons. So scientists have long noted that animals reflect each other's expression, smiling, frowning, and it's just a means of communication. So thanks to those mirror neuron. Why is mirror a hard word to say? Mirror neurons, we tend to mirror each other's expressions and the feelings that go with them. So if I yawn, you will yawn too. If I stub my toe, you're gonna cringe. If I drink water, that's my way to get some water. My mouth is getting dry from talking so much. People are more likely to grab water, right? So that's the mirror neurons at work. Well, smiling is a positive thing. So if we smile and someone smiles back, amazing, right? So from a stress standpoint, when you smile, your brain releases cortisol, or not cortisol, sorry, releases the opposite of cortisol. It releases this cascade of neurotransmitters, things like dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. And these chemicals, they work together to reduce your stress levels. It alleviates pain, lifts your mood, boosts your immune system. I mean, some research even shows that it can prolong your life by having these chemicals in your body. So, University of Kansas published findings that smiling lowers your heart rate in tense situations. Wow, right? It even lowers your blood pressure. So, even a fake smile can actually help. So, pretend you're stuck in traffic. I mean, when I was stressed out and I was driving down the 401 in Toronto traffic, going to my daughter's medical appointments, going to a stressful meeting, I would force out a smile. And it felt ridiculous. I mean, people would be looking at me on the 401 thinking, why does this woman look so happy or stuck in traffic? It's because someone had once told me this. I tried it and it worked. So go ahead and trick your brain into believing that everything is a-okay. And take it one step further, smile at a stranger and, or smile at someone at the dinner table tonight and you'll make their day a little brighter. So, I mean, for a lot of families, meal times are stressful. So, in my work with families, when I'm doing my picky eater protocol or my Thrive program and private coaching, one of the first things we do is find ways to inject joy, inject positive memories, and just an overall create a positive energy at the table. Because when we are stressed, when our kids are stressed, when they pick up on our stress or frustration or discontent, it shuts down their appetite. Because remember, when our body and brain think there's a tiger chasing us, even if it's just mom or dad that's mad at us, or the mealtime feels heavy and we're fighting, the body is thinking about surviving. The tiger is not thinking about eating. The blood rushes away from the digestive system into the heart and the lungs and the muscles to get away from this perceived threat. So therefore, digestion is hampered. And we don't want that, especially if our kids don't eat that well to begin with. We want them to be digesting and assimilating as many nutrients as possible. The way to do that is to get them into what's called a parasympathetic state, which I'll show you shortly. It's making them feel calm so that, first of all, their appetite is strong. They want to sit there and eat, and they're digesting their food. And that goes for you too. Okay, so that's a wrap on the second M, mirroring. Okay. So let's talk about stress and the fact that it promotes inflammation in the body through the vagus nerve. Okay, that is what stress does because the brain, you've heard of the mind-body connection, right? And that's again why we see autoimmune conditions and other health conditions that are driven by stress. I mean, I know people that are now dealing with insomnia, with narcolepsy, all these like sleep issues, health issues that the research shows 75 to 90% of doctors' visits are stress related. So what do we do about that? Well, we could take an anti-inflammatory pill to deal with the inflammation, or we can do something that has an anti-inflammatory response. and that is movement. I know this is not going to surprise you, but here's the key. Research shows that 10 minutes of walking is one of the most effective ways to reduce inflammation and complete your stress cycle, right? So we talked about unplugging the bathtub. Specifically, in this study, participants were asked to select a pace you would walk as if you were late for a class or a meeting or trying to catch the bus, and choose that speed that you can maintain for 10 minutes. Because exercise is anti-inflammatory and it encourages the production of new brain cells. A win-win. And of course, we know there's many other benefits, but like, I mean, 10 minutes, right? It's not a lot of time. And you could park your car when you go to the grocery store at the other end of the parking lot, walk there and back, walk through, you can get your steps in quite easily. That's why we're about maybe a 7-minute walk to school. I refuse to drive. One is we're usually trying to hit the bell time, so we are walking fast. It's my opportunity to get some anti-inflammatory opportunity, and it's just good to move, right? We can easily hop in the Tesla or the car and drive, but no, we walk. Movement is the third one because, and remember, you want to increase your heart rate. Okay, so we're going to move on here. I want you to tell me in this next strategy, what is more calming? Is it the circle or is it the square? Now, I'm always surprised to see the answers come through because just like now, I see 95% of people are saying, okay, more, 97% are saying the circle is more calming. Isn't that interesting? What about if I show you this? Which one is more calming? Teal or red? Yeah, teal. Because one way to reduce our stress is by controlling our sensory input, by modifying what we look at, what we listen to, what we touch, and what we taste. Certain colors and shapes are more calming than others. So think about your environment. Think about what you're wearing. Think about what's around your office or in your desk or the colors in your home. And something as simple as that can change your mental state. But in the spirit of tapping into the sensory system, remember that when we think we're being chased by a tiger or a lion, our senses are heightened, right? We're looking for other things. So, one way to use that to our benefit is to focus on our senses in a meditative and calming way. So when I feel overwhelmed, if I've got a lot on my plate, I tap into my sensory system and I use a grounding technique that then I also use this with my kids to help me feel calm. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you are going to notice, ideally, when you're out for a quick walk, you could, I mean, walk for 5 minutes when you're doing your 10-minute walk. You can be extra effective and do, or efficient and do this as well. So, 5 things you can see. Maybe it's the bud coming off the tree. Maybe it's the color of the grass. Um, it's, you see a person walking in front of you. So pay attention to what you see. 4 things you can feel. It could be the wind on your skin, the clothes on you. It could be a hair on your face. 3 things you can hear. Maybe you hear some people chatting, you hear a car going by, you hear the wind. Okay. 2 things you can smell. This is where it gets difficult, right? It gets difficult trying to think about what I smell in my office right now. And then 1 emotion you feel or 1 thing you can taste. So it's a challenging exercise because they're not all going to come to you as quickly, but that's the point. You are tapping into your sensory system and now you are grounding yourself because you're focused on the here and the now instead of the past or the future. You are focusing. This is helping you recenter. And I mean, one of the best things we can do for our overall mental well-being and happiness is to practice being present. So do this with your kids as well. Go when we're walking home from school and my daughter does not want to move. This is a great activity to get her legs moving and then also help to, calm her when she asks for a play date and I say no. So yeah, give your kids the tools to manage their stress early on, and they will thank you for it, right? Don't you wish you had these tools when you were a kid to manage through life? Because your kids are going to deal with stress. And the more we teach them now and practice with them now, the more they will retain and be able to protect themselves from stress when they're older. All right, let's just be clear that meditation is not just this. It's not sitting and not thinking anything, trying to push every thought out of your head, right? And having to do a 20-minute meditation. It Meditation can also be this, right? We have a tendency to pull our phone out whenever we have an idle moment, but it's important to find opportunities to do nothing, especially in those in-between moments in the grocery store, the coffee shop, waiting for the kids to come out of school, and so on. Okay. Finding these opportunities to do nothing and be still is still meditating. Now, before I share part C of the strategy, it's important to know that we have two nervous systems. Okay, we have a parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest system on the right. You have your um, sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight, flight, or freeze system. That is driven by your amygdala. That is driven by, um, yeah, your body's stress response. Okay, so the goal is to be here in this parasympathetic rest and digest mode. One way to do that is through breathing. And I know we hear a lot about breath work. Often you probably hear about box breathing, 4 in, hold 4, 4 out, hold 4, and so on. What I want you to try doing is focusing on the longer exhale. Okay, so instead of doing equal amount in and out, try doing 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out, because your vagus nerve sends a signal to your brain, activating the rest and digest system, and it eases that sympathetic nervous system simply by breathing out. Again, these are all things that we're talking about here are unplugging the bathtub, releasing the built up stress, and telling your body everything's okay. So let's try it. Okay, do it with me. We're going to go 4 in, 8 out, and starting now. Out. Let's try it again. 4 in, 8 out. You can try it with your kids. Maybe they can't do 8 seconds, but I mean, you can sense, right? When you do that breath, it is calming. And there's tons of research behind why that is. Breath work works and it's free, and sometimes we take it for granted. So that's your mindfulness M. To focus on your senses, do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To look for opportunities for stillness, either through meditation or just in the grocery store line, and focus on the long exhale. Now, the next M I'm going to share with you is a bit of a one that you probably have not considered. So I want you to think about this question. Going back to our earlier conversation about what would make today great, right? When I think about this, I realize my best days depend on a few things: feeling accomplished, like I did something, having a positive impact on somebody's life, someone telling me, the amount of positive reviews and testimonials and just feedback or emails from people on my workshops when I have about 20 different topics with companies that I do. And it's a given that after every single session, I have people emailing me saying, thank you. This is the best training I've been in. This is not just a lunch and learn. I feel more empowered or, whatnot. So that, or even when a family tells me that their child is now eating a bunch of new foods, or that they finally had a family meal where everyone got along and they feel like they're creating positive memories. Like, this is why I do this work, because I can have a positive impact. Quality time with my family, right? Yesterday was a great day. The girls and I played board games last night after dinner and had a good laugh. Moving my body, eating healthy. That's why I love teaching people how to move their body without having to hit the gym for an hour, or what optimizing their nutrition looks like, because I know how important it is, and connecting with people I love, like my friends. So the interesting thing is, these are also my values, right? I am happiest and have the lowest stress on the days when I'm in alignment with these things. Because if you ever tried to drive a car with the tires out of alignment, it is a pretty bumpy journey, and your car has to work harder and uses more energy to get where it needs to go. So just like cars, when we are living out of alignment with who we are at our core, it uses more energy and work too. And it's stressful. It's stressful when we have to try to pretend to be something else, or if something happens and a bad day is, let's say I didn't get something done that I wanted to, or I didn't even get a chance to spend time with my family, or maybe I didn't eat that well, right? That causes me stress. So I want you to um, think about your values. Okay. The value, just so for clarity, they're moral behaviors, right? They're things that we do that bring us peace of mind. They inform how you behave, how you show up, and what matters to you. So at the end of the day, if things go wrong, let's say that things don't go as planned during the day, but if you look back at your day and you responded in a way that was congruent with your values, it's going to be a better day. You're going to be able to sleep at night versus if you handled it in a way that were misaligned with your values. And even the Harvard Business Review agrees, defining your fundamental values that underlie your career and your personal decisions, it makes you immune to stress. So having clarity on what matters helps you develop this steadiness in the face of stressful events and uncertainty. There's tons of science that talk about the power of values, like the fact that it lowers your cortisol, reduces anxiety, improves your confidence in decision making, even improves relationships. Like that just speaks to, values are a powerful tool to have in our back pocket. And it's also why when I run my retreats, so I run women's retreats and leadership retreats, and I have another one coming up in on September 29th to October 1st of 2025. If anybody's interested, it's in Ontario, Kingston, Ontario, at this beautiful center. And one of the things we do there, one of the small exercises is we do a value reflection because it's important to know what matters to you. And many don't realize the impact that that lack of clarity has on their stress levels and their happiness. So we're going to take a moment now to do a value reflection. What I want you to do is identify your top 5 values. I'm going to show you a sheet in a second. And um, and then I want you to pick one value of those. So for me, it might be quality time with family. Okay. So if I were to pick one for today, then I want you to identify what is one thing you're going to do today to be in alignment with that value. So for quality time for me, I'm going to take one of my daughters to go, we're doing a pottery project. That is going to feel so good. Right? Or it might be, and let's say I didn't have that scheduled, and I would say, you know what, I had to get some groceries. I'm going to take one of my daughters for a walk and we're going to get like a hot chocolate on the way. That's what I'm going to do. Right? So sometimes we have to be intentional about how we want to show up. Otherwise, I would just get cut up. They would come home, I would do some laundry, would make some dinner, we would go to soccer, and that would be it. Right? So these are the values. Then you can pick other ones as well. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this or pause the video. And what you can do is just identify the, just go through really quickly and see the ones that stand out to you. Okay. I take people through, it's about like a 30-minute workshop to hour-long workshop on how to define your values and your guiding words and how to make them part of your life. But for the purposes of this conversation being a stress talk, I'm just going to share this with you and let you pause the video and do it on your own. Okay. So the fifth M is matters, right? Bring your authentic self to work and to your loved ones. You'll be happier because of it. Next, I want you to think about when you are stressed, what do you eat? What are you reaching for? Are you reaching for some nutrient dense veggies, something salty, something sweet? Okay, most people say it's one of these two, salty, sweet, and that's understandable. You know why? Because when you feel stressed, your body impacts your dietary choices. First, the excess cortisol Oh, and it impacts your and it impacts what your body looks like. So first, it's your body releases this cortisol, and it fuels cravings for sweet, salty, and fatty foods because your body thinks, oh my gosh, I don't know when I'm going to get food again. I'm being chased by a tiger. I need to get as much as possible to be able to address this threat so I can handle and fight this tiger or run away from it. So I'm going to eat all the things, and I'm going to yeah, and then your body stores it, right? It's like that extra cortisol slows the metabolism and holds on to the glucose so you can deal with the threat at hand because you need the energy to handle that whatever um that threat is. So you have a reduced ability to burn fat, and you're prone to having that extra layer of what's called visceral fat around your belly because your belly has a lot of cortisol receptors, and that then promotes this like belly fat. Okay. What also happens when you feel stressed, it's stress is actually one of the biggest anti-nutrients. Okay. It is an energy hungry process that can quickly deplete your nutrient reserves. Because your number one goal is survival, getting away from that tiger, your body is prioritizing the organs that need to help you do that. So your lungs, your heart, your muscles, and then the nutrients that are needed go to those muscles, go to those organs for you to survive. That means you are depleting those nutrients within your body. Your adrenal glands as well, they are working overtime because they produce your stress hormones. And in that process, they need a lot of vitamin C. So that's why the nutrients like magnesium, B vitamins, and vitamin C are three of the top nutrients that you need to be consuming, supplementing with when you feel stressed. So this is why, I have supplements like this one here that actually has um uh yeah, some nutrients in here to balance my stress. Let's see if I have it here. So I don't, but I have a bottle of B complex vitamins because B vitamins are important for producing your feel-good chemicals. Magnesium, I have a few of them here. I just keep a small thing. It increases your GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that helps in the feelings of fear and anxiety. And of course vitamin C, we know it's important for immunity, but also it plays a role in lowering cortisol. So that's why I want to show you some stress busting foods that you can use and enjoy that will help you ensure you're getting some of these nutrients. Okay. So first, pumpkin seeds. It is one of the top seeds to consume daily because it contains both zinc and tryptophan. And tryptophan is the only amino acid that produces serotonin, which is a mood boosting neurotransmitter. And zinc is an antioxidant that is shown to improve your anxiety symptoms. In fact, in a study, individuals with anxiety had lower blood plasma levels of zinc, right? So that's, proof right there, or a suggestion that zinc is correlated with anxiety levels. So I like to throw some pumpkin seeds in a pesto sauce, have it on my granola, have it on my salads. There's so many different ways to use pumpkin seeds. And the link to the recipes are at the bottom of the slides. Berries is another one, particularly dark skin berries. They are bursting with antioxidants that prevent and reduce anxiety, and vitamin C, which has been found to reduce anxiety symptoms as well. Avocado is a great one. It's loaded with B vitamins that have been shown to improve your mood. One way to eat avocado is in an avocado ice cream. If you've ever done that, you take some coconut milk, some maple syrup, avocado, blend it up, freeze it, and scoop it out. So good. It's a great way to use avocados that are getting overly ripe. And chia seeds, they have a high level of omega-3 fatty acids, which is shown to reduce inflammation and anxiety in medical students. And dark chocolate. So if you are a chocolate lover, you can eat it guilt-free because it has been deemed beneficial for anxiety and irritability, in part because of the high magnesium levels in chocolate. Just remember that, or can you guess what percentage of cacao should you be eating looking for in a chocolate bar? So some people say, yeah, 70%, 80%. I like to go for 80% or higher. If that's a little too strong for you, try 70%. What I would do is dip it in some nut butter. It kind of balances out kind of the bitterness of the chocolate. So now you're getting less sugar, more of the nutrients. And the final food I want to cover is Brazil nuts because they are high in selenium and that has been shown to reduce anxiety in clinical trials. Brazil nuts are also high in vitamin E, which is associated with low levels are associated with increased anxiety in adulthood. So, does anybody know how many Brazil nuts you need to eat to get sufficient amounts of these nutrients? This will surprise you. 3. That's all you need. Okay, we'll get you the sufficient, especially the selenium. Okay, so my creativity was tapped out by the time I got to our final M. So I just have for the foods and the nutrients that you need. Someone else had suggested munchie, so I might steal that one. I like it. And so those are some of your stress supporting foods. Now I want to talk about, as a parent and a professional in the picky eating space and in the family nutrition space, I have a lot of parents that come to me because their kids are having meltdowns over foods. And it is one of the quickest things that we address, one of the first things we address, because I know that stress is coming at you from all angles. And mealtime should not be one of them. We should be able to enjoy time with our kids, creating positive memories at the table, because I know way too many clients that are worried about their children's eating because they experienced, some negative they had a negative relationship with food growing up because of the way they were parented with food. So I want to share some tools that you can use at home, whether your children are really upset about the food you have on the table, or it's maybe their screen time or something else. Because if you have a child, even with big feelings, we need to teach them how to handle stress and frustration because stress is inevitable, right? They're going to experience stress. Now, and that's a thing, right? It's not a question of whether your children will ever feel anxious or overwhelmed or stressed. The question is, how will they respond to it and those everyday stressors? Well, we actually know how they'll respond to stress and pressure. They will respond in the way we do. So this quote really hits me in the gut. In fact, I have a sticky note on my desk as a reminder because it says this: how you manage the stressors in your life is setting your kids up, for better or worse, for how they will manage their own stressors, the stressors in their life. You owe it to yourself and to your kids to manage your stress healthily and effectively. Pretty powerful stuff, right? So one of the best ways to teach your kids how to handle stress is to make sure that you have your own strategies in check. And hopefully you've got some today that you can put in practice. Okay, I want to take you through what I call the 4 S's. So with my daughter who has big kind of emotions, when she used to just lose her mind because, something wasn't served properly, or she was upset not wanting to go to bed, right? Any of those things, we did something called the 4 S's. The first S was to stay. So she would run away. That's flight, right? She would run up to her room, or teenagers, they will run to their room, slam the door. The first S is stay. Okay, we need to stay because when you're upset, you need to be with somebody. It's lonely if you run away. And I know you don't want to run away, so you can stay here and be upset or angry. Okay, so stay, keep your feet where they are. The second S is smell the roses. I mean, they thought it was funny and that was the point of it. Okay, no, where's the rose? Let's smell the rose. So that's breathing. Okay, let's smell another rose. So that is just getting them to, to incorporate some of the strategies we talked about today about recalibrating and self-regulating. Smile, right? One way to help your child smile is to smile back at them or make them laugh. If you can make them laugh when they're feeling stressed, that breaks through their stress, their frustration, and it completes the stress cycle. Laughter is pulling the bathtub. We need to release the bathtub plug for our kids. Smile or get them to smile. And while they're smiling and feel ridiculous, which will make them laugh, get them to say how they are feeling. Say, how are you feeling? So it would be something like, I'm feeling frustrated that you did not make the mac and cheese, right? So get them to articulate to you how they're feeling because we need to be in tune with our emotions. Emotions, all emotions are welcome, even sadness, frustration, anger, anxiety, stress, all those feelings are welcome. Being able to recognize it and say why, as opposed to, you did this, you're making me do this, right? They take ownership for how they're feeling and what the trigger was. Okay, great way to manage sibling rivalry as well. This is one of the many tools that I give families when we are working through how to manage stress with their kids at meal times, with food, because we know the ramifications of that. So all in all, stress can stop you in your tracks and really wreak havoc on your health and in your life if you let it. But let's remember that we can take the strategies from today and channel that stress into a superpower. And remember, it is all about perspective, isn't it? When I need to check my stress, okay, if something, let's say I've got a big project due coming up and it feels like a long list, I can easily get, oh my gosh, must work all night. Or maybe it's how messy the house is. We've got a few laundry baskets we need to fold. Then, I remember this quote from Carl Sagan. This is a picture here, okay? And it's they sent the Voyager spacecraft out into the solar system, I guess 30 years ago. They turned the camera back around, they took a picture of Earth. Guys, this is the planet Earth. We are floating on a mole of dust suspended in a sunbeam. That laundry doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Does it matter that I have a ton of things on my to-do list? Well, it feels like it does, doesn't it? But when you're on in the middle of nowhere in a universe of unknown, the fact that we are here is a darn miracle that we and a blessing, right? So read this quote when you have time because it is moving. If you have an opportunity to look up the video, the blue dot, the pale blue dot, please do. And remember that, you know, this is life and there are so many, like, don't sweat the small stuff. It's easy to when you're in the moment, and even the big stuff. I mean, my experience last year, of course, that warranted stress. Okay, so I'm not saying you don't need to try and block out stress. Feel through the emotion and think about how to respond to it. So this is why I had my dad is a artist and he painted this picture of planet Earth on my request. It's in our stairwell because I wanted to be able to see it every day. When I'm coming down the stairs, I hear the kids upstairs still not waking up, fighting. Maybe I see, socks somewhere or laundry or whatever. I'm thinking about work. I look at this picture and I remember I am floating on a mole of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Anyways, I hope that helps. So these are some of the strategies we talked about today. The Empower method, your morning routine, how you start the day, what you say about your day. Today's going to be great. Really feeling into gratitude, being mindful, right? Being looking for opportunities for silence, looking for ways to step away from your current situation, from life, and take a moment for yourself. Stillness, um, pausing, pressing pause on your life, going to a retreat, come to my women's leadership retreat or any of my retreats. It's not selfish, it's not indulgent, it is necessary so that you can come back to your family, to your work and be your best possible self because you will have done this self-reflection to know how you want to show up in life. When do we ever have the opportunity to do that? It's hard to do that when you're at home and you've got the distraction of things around you. Mirroring, smile at someone, smile at your kids, smile at your partner, just smile. Movement, go for that 10-minute brisk walk, get your heart rate up. And while you're doing that, try to tap into the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the sensory activity I shared. Knowing what matters to you, try and engage in opportunities to identify your values and what really matters to you, what your guiding words are for the year. If you need any help with this kind of stuff, or you have questions about it, reach out. These are all workshops. Some of the workshops, the many workshops that I do are either specific to some of these strategies we talked about today. And I mean, we go deep in them in our retreats. And making sure you're focusing on the foods and nutritions that are important, which are the second column. And then finally, the 4S strategy for your kids, and just modeling your own stress management, taking care of yourself, taking care of your own mental health so that you can be that person you want to be for your kids and even in your work. If you are, especially if you're managing a team or part of a team, they're watching you, they're learning from you. If you are calm and you have tools to manage yourself, then they will do better. So, to help you out, I have some stress tools for you. I mentioned the morning gratitude sheets I'm going to send you. I have a recap of some of the top strategies we talked about today. I also have a guide if you are a leader or part of a team. I have a mental health guide where it has 10 strategies that you can do in less than 5 minutes to help ground you and your team, and then some stress busting recipes and a meal plan. So take a look at those tools. They will be sent to you. And if you have feedback on this workshop, I would love for you just to complete this quick survey. All of these will be sent to you once you complete the few questions that are there. They will all be emailed to you. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. And let me see, and I guess the last thing I want to say here is remember that you get to choose how you respond to stress. You get to choose what you do. Do you want to put on the blue lenses, the resilience lens, or do you want to put on the lens of like, this is a terrible day, right? You get to choose. And once you do, I want you to pick one strategy that you're going to take away from today, or something you've been meaning to do that will help you manage your stress and bring some calm to your life, some positivity to your day. And then I want you to make it happen. So here's what you're going to do. One, oopsie, where did it go? One is you're going to put it in your calendar. Okay, so right now, if it was you're going to do the gratitude journal in the morning, or you're going to do the 10-minute walk, I want you to block it out in your calendar, right? 9 a.m., 8 a.m., put it in, stress busting walk, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 walk or sensory walk. Um, you know, uh, Today's going to be a great day. Like, put that thing in there with a specific strategy. I want you to add a reminder, right? There's an option when you put things in your calendar to add a reminder so you know it's coming 15 minutes before, an hour before. Make it recurring daily. That takes a minute. You are more likely to do it if it's in your calendar, because otherwise you will forget. Like that, you're busy, life is busy, and I don't expect you to remember everything we talked about today. I mean, probably by the tonight you'll forget everything or just remember a handful of things. And then finally find an accountability buddy. Maybe at work, maybe it's your partner, maybe it's your best friend. Say, listen, this is what I'm trying to do. I really need to get my stress under control. It's derailing my creativity, my ability to think, my ability to act. I feel like I can't be calm. I'm not setting a good example for the kids. I feel like I'm irritable all the time. That's your why. And I want you to, can you help me? Can you check in on me a couple times a day or a couple times a week and see how I'm doing with this? And then if I do it consistently for a week or 2 weeks, let's go out for dinner. Let's go for a coffee. Let's go shopping. Like, figure out a way to reward yourself. Okay. So that's how you build habits. A very simple format of it. I have a whole separate workshop on how to build habits that stick, it's all rooted in science. But if you are ready for more and you want to make some impactful change beyond a 60 to 90-minute session, please, there are a couple opportunities here. I will email this to you. One is I have 20 different wellness workshop topics that are great for teams. This one was not, I did not have the interactive element in it because it's a video recording. However, when I do my workshops for companies, the biggest feedback is not just that they learn something, that they're inspired and motivated to take action, but also that they feel more connected to their peers than they ever have. They get to know their team. It's fun. It's the highlight of their week. They tell me the workshops are the best meetings they've ever attended. And I mean, lots of these companies are large multinational companies that tell me that there's something really special about my session. So go ahead, check out the brochure, and book a call to learn more. If you're interested in my retreats, or my authentic leadership programming, I have specific workshops for people managers. They are phenomenal. Please ask me about those. And personal coaching, whether it's for yourself or for your family, let's chat, because we all know we do better when we have a plan and a guide. And I would be honored to be that for you. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, please email me info@daniellebins.com. And I hope to see you soon.